Hey, hello everyone, and thanks for joining us for Access City Council. I'm your host, City of Las Vegas Communications Director David Riggleman. We're excited to have with us new City Councilwoman Nancy Brune, who has been elected to represent Ward 6, and a member of her team is also going to be joining us a little bit later in the show. But Councilwoman, it is an honor and a pleasure. This is your very first Access City Council show. Congratulations and welcome.
Thank you, David. I'm excited.
Well, very good. You were sworn in on December 7th, elected back in November 8th. So you're, what, 2 months into the job here and going strong. So, well, we're going to talk more about your vision and goals for Ward 6. First of all, we always like to tell everybody where Ward 6 is located. You know it well. This is the area you represent. For those of you out there watching, you're not exactly sure the area we're talking about. Well, we're going to help you out. It's that area, of course, with the big 6 on it, appropriately enough. If you live in this area or work in this area, then you are in the city limits of the city of Las Vegas. And if you're a resident out there, you are now represented on the city council by none other than Nancy Brune. So congratulations.
Thank you, David.
This all started really technically, officially in office on December 7th. The city, we posted this on Facebook. We said, your new city council, 2 elected officials were sworn in today for Wards 4 and 6. Of course, Wards 4 is Francis Allen Polensky, and you are representing Ward 6. This is your swearing in that morning. It's always a big deal. You know, there's a lot of work that goes into the campaigns. But I think now you know this is when the work really begins, is once the swearing in starts. And there you are coming up to see the council and to take the oath.
Yeah, actually, this was my first time running for office, and so I had not seen the video until right now sitting with you, and I'm finding myself getting really emotional. It was an historic day for me and for our family because I actually haven't run for office before. So exciting to sort of figure out, you know, just go through the whole formalities and all the pomp and circumstance. And it was amazing. My sister from Texas could come out, and her kids came out and joined us. So it was. So
walk us through now. The one gentleman, that's your husband, right?
Yes.
And he is a judge, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Federal District Court. Yes. So he's been through this before that I hadn't. So and then we have 3 kids together, and then my sister brought her 2 kids out with her from San Antonio, Texas.
Your niece and nephew, that's great. That's awesome.
So it was hard not to cry, actually, in speaking that day. So and everybody's been so warm and welcoming. So I'm really looking forward to working with Mayor Goodman and our city council members. And actually, Councilman Francis Allen Polensky and I we didn't know each other before we
Really? Oh, I thought you guys were fast friends.
No,
Interesting.
but she actually has run for office before, and so I called her every day during the campaign. I actually refer to her as my campaign wife because literally I spent more time with her, and she was so helpful and kind and warm and welcoming during the campaign. So I'm really excited. And we have adjacent wards, and so we're already planning on partnering around some really exciting events for our residents. So.
Yeah, that's great. It's funny. I remember back in the day, Wards 4 and 6 have often worked together because of proximity, and some of the council members saying, well, Wards 4 and 6 together make the perfect 10. So,
I love that. I'm going to have to borrow
just
that.
Use that. It's good. It's really good. Councilman, let's talk a little bit about your background. It's really impressive. Your resume, you have degrees from a couple of little universities, Harvard and Yale, and that's really impressive. So tell us a little bit about what your education is in and how that transitioned to your love for public service.
So both, so as an undergraduate, I studied government, and then I went on to study
at Harvard.
Yes, and then I have a master's in community development from the Kennedy School at Harvard, and so really have always loved policy and data. And then I did my PhD in politics and economics, or figuring out how politics can affect economics. But I've really been working in public service.
Really ever since, right?
Yeah, so I worked prior, when I first moved to Las Vegas, I was working at Sandia National Laboratories and commuting to Albuquerque, New Mexico, but really focusing on national security and homeland security. And then maybe 13 years ago, I founded the Kenny Gwynn Center for Policy Priorities, which is the state's only bipartisan policy center. And the goal was to inform policymakers using research and data-informed policy briefs. And in that role, I really worked on a lot of the issues that we'll be addressing as the City Council: water, economic development, education, natural resource security. So I think focusing on data and really truly having worked across party the party aisles over the last 10 years. I think it's a wonderful background to serve on the city council, which is a nonpartisan entity. And so I'm bringing that, I think, to City Hall and really running on a platform of bringing common sense solutions to City Hall and to local government.
What I really love, and I've heard you say, and just having known you now for a little more than a month, but you really do rely on data. And of course, that's how you make good decisions, because the data is going to give you, it's not going to be kind of a gut feeling or a hunch or anecdotal. It's going to be, well, this is what the information tells us. It's a lot easier to make decisions when you have that kind of information, isn't it?
I think it is. Although at the end of the day, right, I mean, you could have two different proposals and look at the data, and it may come down to prioritizing the different policy proposals, right? So there is that sort of emphasis at the end of the day, even with the data, what do we need to prioritize, or what do we need to work on first to address the needs, like the immediate needs in our community? So at the end of the day, there probably will be some subjectivity, but it's nice to look at the data to start those conversations.
Now tell us experience prior to in elected office. You worked with the legislature quite a bit at the Gwynn Institute, right? Helping, a bill was going to be introduced, and it's like, well, what's the information, what's the data around whatever that particular issue might have been, right?
Yeah, so putting the policy brief together and then coming in to actually present the data to legislators and then talking to them about any additional questions they had. So I think, again, really well positioned to just provide data in an accessible way. A lot of times, our elected officials will see bunches of data, and it's hard to translate the data and the research into policy. As you know, a lot of, we don't have that much time. So how can you translate that really complicated policy into a 5-point memo or something like that? Yeah.
So what changed between the love of policy and helping, going from maybe an advisory role to actually now being the decision maker?
That's a great question, David, because I never thought I would run for office, but after a couple of things happened, I thought we came up with some really great policy recommendations as part of our policy briefs, and so sort of handing them off to the legislators, and they wouldn't always take my great advice and implement the policy recommendation.
Why wouldn't they?
I know. And I also think that a lot of times good policy falls off the rails when we get to the implementation, and so I wanted to sort of be on the other side and be in charge of implementation.
That's great.
And the other thing too is, I never the Gwynn Center spent so much time focusing on the legislative body. I came to realize over the last couple of years, looking at housing and even education, that a lot of those really important decisions that affect quality of life, like public safety, housing, having enough parks, really are taken up at the city and county level. And so, and I think that's where we start rebuilding local trust in our government. Just talking to residents was so, they want communities where they can raise their kids safely and play and go to work, and so that's what the city council addresses.
Exactly.
So I'm excited.
You step out onto the street in front of your house each morning. It's a city street, right? And so on. So everything that you're going to touch, really, through most of your day, is going to be affected by the city in some form, way, shape, or form. So how's it been going? So tell us, you've gone from policymaker, now you're an elected official. How's the first month or so been?
It's a huge learning curve. So I love, all the briefings. We've had, hours and hours of briefings, which I love.
You've stayed very attentive through all that, and it's to me it's got to be overwhelming.
It's been good, yeah.
Well, you've been great through it all, and when she says hours, folks, she means hours. It's like there's a lot to learn, and you've sat patiently, took great notes, asked a lot of great questions, and
my husband keeps joking because he says, this is a part-time job in theory, or kind of officially, but we're leaving. But I will tell you, I knew Mayor Goodman sort of personally before I ran for office, and I've been so impressed that, when I arrive in the morning, she's already here, and when I leave, she's still here. I mean, she is truly the hardest working mayor.
And she works Friday, Saturday, Sunday, too.
So I'm really looking forward to working with her and the rest of my fellow council members.
I got a hunch that you'll be keeping a similar pace. I just, having known you as short a time as I have. So Tell us now then, what are some of your visions? What are some of the things you'd like to see accomplished? I agree with you. I think the city council affects people's lives more so than the legislature, even more so than Congress, for sure, because everything that you decide really is going to affect their daily life. So what are some of the visions that you have, some of the things you'd like to see accomplished for Ward 6?
So a lot of my priorities, at least my first immediate priorities, really are informed by what I heard from neighbors and residents of Ward 6, and as we were out walking or knocking on doors. We have a lot of sort of open space and a very unique character to Ward 6. I mean, really, it's a very special place.
It's kind of a blend of city, but still rural in many ways, too.
And people really, I mean, people moved out there to sort of preserve that. And so we've had a lot of growth because Las Vegas, as you know, has grown. And so talking to people, residents feel as though there's been a lot of sort of rubber stamp development where projects get approved and get built, and there hasn't been a lot of community input. And so I really want to hold a lot of community meetings. We've got, the development of the Kyle Canyon corridor. We've got the Upper Wash Valley. There was an article about that last week. So some really exciting big projects, and I want to make sure that we're inviting the community to tell us what they want to see. I know one thing, for example, I heard when I was knocking doors is we don't actually have a lot of nicer restaurants. People share that they have to go to downtown Summerlin. So really being intentional and mindful about the communities where, again, Ward 6 residents can work and play and walk to a nearby restaurant for that amazing experience that
that's
other
interesting.
wards have.
I don't live in Ward 6, but really when you think about that, that's really true. What else? What are some of the other things that you'd really like to see occur in Ward 6 in your tenure during your term?
So another issue is, the great thing is we already have some amazing projects that I didn't even know about before I was elected. And so I'd been talking to neighbors about a regional park. We don't have like a big regional sports park. It turns out there's actually one that's already in the works for Ward 6. So really just executing on some of the amazing projects.
Keep that momentum going.
And then education is another big one. We actually have the highest number of homeschooled families out in Ward 6.
I did not know that.
Yeah. And so we're really making sure that we've got great schools. And the good news is a lot of the schools that were ranked sort of higher in terms of growth in test scores are actually out in Ward 6 in the Sky Canyon area. And so really making sure that we have high quality schools and support for our parents who are choosing to homeschool their kids. And so being mindful of the educational supports and quality of our schools for our families who are moving out to Ward 6.
Well, coming from a Harvard and Yale graduate, I think that's good advice all the way around. So.
I'm a public school kid.
Are you really? See, that's very good. Went public schools, and then that propelled you to the Ivy League. So that's good. That's testament. So very good. Councilwoman, I think right in line with what you're talking about, I know one of your priorities is having more of those engagement meetings with the community, more HOA meetings, more community engagement. Talk about that a little bit. I know that's a commitment that you've made to your constituents out there to where you're going to kind of meet them where they are and talk about the issues that affect them, right?
Yeah, so one of my goals is to meet with every single resident before, the next 4 years that I'm here.
That's 100,000 or plus, so if you count the children too. So.
Yes. And Councilwoman Fiore, actually my predecessor, was regularly had coffees with Councilman Fiore actually at our satellite office, which is located in the Y. And so today we had our very first coffee with Councilman Brune. We had, some great folks that I'd actually met on the campaign trail come out and visit more informally. And we had some neighbors come out and share their concerns. So we will be doing that once or twice. The second and fourth Thursdays of every month. We'll be out there from 9 to 4.
People love those.
Yeah.
They're informal, they're accessible. They can sit down with you and talk over a cup of coffee versus having to come to City Hall.
Yeah.
And there's always that kind of intimidation factor, even though, we're friendly here, but it's still that sense of going to City Hall. But to meet you at this community center over a cup of coffee is easy. It's a short drive and
it's free coffee and refreshments.
You cannot beat that. So, one thing I've really noticed from Ward 6 is that you always get great participation no matter what, if it's in a community event, a movie in the park, maybe it's a coffee with the councilwoman, Cowboy Christmas, whatever it might be, the people in Ward 6 really love to turn out, and they're very engaged.
Yes. I heard this on the campaign trail. We actually have the most organized ward in the area. I think, again, because we've had so much growth, that it's really, animated residents to come out and share their perspectives on whether they like, the project that's going in at the corner or they don't. So it's great. So I'm excited to tap into that participation.
And of course, we want to encourage people to reach out too.
Definitely.
If they have something on their mind, and this is one of the reasons we do this program, is that we want to hear from you. If there's an issue on your mind, if there's something you'd like to communicate to Councilwoman Brune, she wants to hear from you, right?
Definitely. You can contact us. We've got a electronic form, and we're probably receiving about 2 or 3 emails a day.
I was going to ask you.
People asking about, undeveloped park, or even we had an issue a couple of weeks ago dealing with animals, and so people have weighed in with that, and so we were responding to every single request. Please call. Please. We're also really active on Nextdoor. I love connecting with residents. I think that's how we learn what your concerns are, and so definitely please reach out. And we actually will be talking to our great team member who will really be sort of the first point of contact when someone reaches out. So I'm excited.
We're going to introduce everybody to Mateo here very shortly. Also, before the end of the program, we'll tell you how to get in touch with Councilwoman Brune. She's on Facebook, she's on Twitter, as you mentioned, she's on Nextdoor, and then also you can just send her an email, pick up the phone. We do that too. So.
Yes. And my goal is to actually do TikTok as well. So.
All right, I like that.
I've got a young staff, so they're going to help me.
It's working. It's really taken off for the city. We use TikTok now, and we've had tremendous success with it. People really connect with it. So,
well, I will tell you, one of the, if you look at sort of voter turnout and participation, we could do more with our young people. And the truth is that I have 3 teenagers, right? They see so much of their news on TikTok. So as much as we can sort of put out digestible pieces of the policy proposals, it will help, I think, engage them and feel like they're connected to local government, which, as you well know, right, that really is the entity that they'll have more interaction with.
That is exactly our philosophy, Councilwoman, in the communications office. We want to make sure that we're communicating with people on the platforms that they're using the most, and TikTok is one of them. Not just for young people too. A lot of people of all different ages are using it, but it's a great way to communicate information about the city on a platform that people actually look at. So we're doing that, so that sounds good. Well, Councilwoman, we're going to introduce Mateo here in a few minutes, so I'm going to tell everybody out there we're going to take a short break, but when we come back, you're going to meet one of the members of the Ward 6 team. That's right after this, so please stay with us.
It don't matter who you are. You can be a judge, doctor, lawyer, or banker. A technocrat, bureaucrat, diplomat, or hepcat. Tech god, tech startup, starving artist, or symphony performer. I don't care if you're a photographer, restaurateur, raconteur, or brain researcher, bail bondsman, bond trader, casino baron, or barista. It don't matter. Here, we reject all labels and welcome all comers. We see through the stereotypes. We break down the archetypes. We all park our cars in the same proverbial garage and hitch our wagons to the same shining star. Opportunity. With open minds, open hearts, open doors. We are open for business, open for pleasure, open for opportunity, open for innovation and imagination, open for reinvention, open to where we've been, whatever comes our way, and wherever we may wind up. Closed-minded is not an option. Lack of imagination? Not here. Being forgettable is unforgivable. This is downtown Las Vegas, the real Las Vegas, where the American dream breathes fire. We are open to everyone and down for anything. Now who's down?
When his idea of game night has you feeling played, or your teacher's pet has become unleashed, and inseparable has become intolerable. Visit boystown.org/parenting. We've got parenting guides, videos, articles, tools, and quick tips from experts backed by over 100 years of experience. Get your parenting going in the right direction with Boys Town.
There's a place to share gossip about the office party fun, and a place to share the story you tell everyone. There's a place to share a laugh about when things went wrong, and a place to share the video of you dancing to your song. There's a place to share spare change, lunch, and your time. But we could all be better at sharing how we're feeling inside. 76% of employees have struggled with at least one issue that affected their mental health. When you share, you're not alone.
Welcome back, everyone. The Ward 6 team has been busy getting settled in and focusing on the goals for the new year. And with us today is one of those team members. It is Mr. Mateo Beers. I know, Councilwoman, you're excited to show off some of your team members because when people contact the office, Mateo is going to be one of the people that they'll be contacting, right?
Yes, Mateo is in charge of really sort of community outreach, especially for our young people and our seniors, and really handling all of the requests that we have for meetings and events. So he's definitely going to be the front line of contact for our office.
That's awesome. Well, Mateo, thank you so much for being with us. I know you've got a couple of other helpers in the office. You got Chance, and you've also got Daniel, and we're going to meet them on a future show. But in the meantime, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I was born and raised in Las Vegas, so have a few years here under my belt. And I'm currently a student at UNLV studying urban studies.
Oh, excellent.
So yeah, hopefully I'm on my way to graduate by the fall of 23.
That's coming right up. And going to school and working, that's outstanding. Now, when people contact the office, help us out here a little bit. What are things that are really helpful for you and the Councilwoman when people reach out? What are some of the things that you guys really appreciate knowing?
Yeah, so I mean, I really enjoy that whenever anyone sort of reaches out, they have their priorities set, and then I sort of have to pick and choose where find the best resources for them, and sort of we are trying to sort of tally and make a spreadsheet of their biggest priorities and concerns, so that way we can try our best with the council and everything.
Now that does not surprise me, Councilwoman, because that's good data right there. Because it's like these are the common things we're hearing. Maybe these are some things in the community that we need to take. And you know, Councilwoman, I know one of your top priorities is public safety, and that's got to be very helpful. Maybe you're hearing about certain things in a particular area, or maybe it's traffic related, maybe it's crime related, to where it's like, you know, I'm getting some stats along these lines. Maybe this is an area we need to try to address.
Definitely, and we actually heard that on the campaign trail. I mean, I think I mentioned that we've just grown so much in Ward 6, and in many instances we've grown without that infrastructure to support it, and so, you know, having more police, a bigger police presence out in Ward 6 and even another fire station are a couple of our priorities. And we actually were putting together a survey to send out to the residents of Ward 6 to ask them, you know, what businesses they'd like to see, what are some of their concerns, and we'll use that to, as Mateo said, schedule meetings and maybe even do some town halls where we bring out subject matter experts to talk specifically about the issue that they want to hear about.
That's great. That's great. And people in Ward 6, we talked about this, they're going to participate. If you're going to have a meeting, they're going to come out, they're going to tell you what's on their minds. So that's really great. Mateo, tell us how's it been going for you, the transition coming into the city? I know for both of you, I've been there, we've all been there when being new to the organization. It's large. It seems like there's just a lot to take in. How's that been going for you?
I mean, just a few months ago, I was a barista, so going from coffee to a computer was a big adjustment. But I think that being a little tech savvy, it was definitely a comfortable position going in with friendly faces and sort of just learning as I go and saying hi to everyone. So it's been pretty easy.
Well, you know, one thing I've noticed, Councilwoman, is that Mateo is a hard worker. You talked about people that come in early in the morning and are there when you leave at night. When I come in the morning, Mateo's already in his office. I have to walk past his office to get to my own. And he's already here. And oftentimes when I'm going home at night, he's just getting ready to leave. So he puts in a long day. So yeah.
Yeah, I think we were here till 6 o'clock last night, and then he went off and had to take care of school and stuff. So,
please study. This is coming from somebody who's got some great degrees. So, but that's good. But yeah, so I think the hard work, and I think folks out there, that's important for me to help get across because people do work hard in government and city government specifically and put in a lot of hours, and they take this is a passion for them. So I think, that, Mateo, you've been here all of a month or whatever it's been, but you're already putting in the long hours to serve the public. That's what we're here for, right? So what are some things that you would, if you were going to contact the office, what makes it easy for you and for Chance and for Daniel when people reach out to you? Sometimes they're contacting you about an issue that's really not city related, but we can still point them in the right direction even if we're not the right government entity, right? We'll hook them up or send them to the entity that is, right?
Our office welcomes phone calls and emails. I'm always behind any social accounts, so feel free to message us. Our biggest priority is that we're accessible and transparent. So however you might send us a message, we will be sure to respond. But whatever works for them.
All right. See, I love that too, because that's our philosophy too. Is like, however you want to communicate with us, we're all ears. We're going to communicate back with you then. So, well, I love that. Well, Councilwoman, anything else you want to add related to your staff? I know you're very proud of the team that you have. Yeah,
we have a great team. They all love data, and they'll all be actually taking a little bit of a policy role. So I want to make sure they're all building their own skill set and really learning about all the issues that a city council has to address. So.
That's great. And like I say, we've had Mateo on this show, but we're going to have a Chance and then Daniel on future shows, so you get to meet them as well. But Mateo, you got to go first, so you must be the special one. So.
I hope so.
Well, folks, we're just about out of time here, and Councilwoman Mateo, I want to tell everybody out there, to your point, Mateo, we always want to hear from you. So if there's something you'd like to share with Councilwoman Brune, you can find her on Facebook and Twitter. You can also contact her by picking up the phone, 702-229-6405, or send her an email. Her address is nbrune@lasvegasnevada.gov, and she or one of her great staff, maybe it's going to be Mateo, maybe it's Dan, maybe it's Chance, they will get right back to you and make sure that the Councilwoman is in the loop on what your questions are. So,
Thank you, David.
You've done great.
Us.
Both of
you.
Your first show under the belt, check. They get much easier after this, I promise.
Yeah.
So, all right. Mateo, great job. Councilwoman, great job. We'll see you back here in 6 weeks with another update from Ward
Looking
6.
forward to it.
Thank you. And we want to thank you for joining us. Our next Access City Council show begins airing on January 19th with Ward 1 City Councilman Brian Knutson. You can now watch all of our KCLV shows on Apple TV, Roku, and Amazon Fire, and watch for our QR code during the closing credits of this show to subscribe to our newsletter. Also, don't forget you can watch us live on the internet at kclv.tv. Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you next time around.